She's so kind. All right, check. If I can check your mic real quick, make sure you're good.
Hello, good morning.
Oh, I can see you. Okay, we're good.
Great,
We're good.
awesome.
All right. Welcome back to the Prophetic Podcast, episode 24. I am in the studio with Lilly Benitez, or you might know her as Blade Craft Lilly. Hi, how are you?
Great, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. Like I told you right before we started, this almost didn't happen this weekend. I had food poisoning, so I am here, blessed to be here. How's everything been going with you?
It's going great. It's been a little tumultuous, but I'm excited to be here, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're feeling better. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I got up, went to the barbershop this morning, got cleaned up, put my outfit on, said I'm going to get this done, so I'm happy to meet you finally. We've been playing phone tag and email back and forth. So if you'll tell everyone what you do and a little bit about yourself, give everyone a little bit of a backstory.
Absolutely. So my name is Lilly Benitez. I'm the founder and director of Blade Craft Barber Academy. We are located in the heart of Dallas, Texas, in Deep Ellum, that is full of art and culture and history and amazing food. But also we're just on a main street. So I feel like now at this point, we've been there 8 years. We're really trying to be a positive influence in our community. And so we teach barbering. We make barbers, and we specialize in straight razor shaving, beard shapings, and hair cutting. But I think one of the main things that makes us different is everything that I didn't receive in my personal career as far as like business management, I made sure to include in our curriculum now. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that makes us really different is the way that our curriculum is set up in a way that our students are going to be successful because we're introducing them to a bunch of facets of business management and ownership that's just really important in order to further our culture in the different communities that we're in.
So where did your story start? So you said you in your education. So take it back a bit. How did you get to where you are? For those people listening that might wonder, how do I do something like that? Where did you get started?
Okay, so both of my parents are from El Salvador, and they are El Salvadorian immigrants. So they arrived here in the late 80s, fleeing the civil war that was going on in El Salvador. And it's really trippy because I'm actually currently working on a novel myself that I'm writing, and I was kind of going back and doing research on the actual facts, right? Because I have the experiences of my parents of like why they came to America, right? And so my dad, so in the 80s, the guerrilla and the actual military of El Salvador was going into elementary schools and kidnapping the boys and either putting them into the guerrilla or the military. So it was based on height, not even age. So when we think about how fearful or why sometimes our cultures are hesitant to accept education, I mean, imagine sending your boys to elementary school and then, you know, there's people showing up with AKs and stuff and stealing your boys, your sons, your brothers, your cousins from school. So they were having to keep their children back home. And our family is not a violent family. And so my grandmother was like, well, my sons have to leave and go to America because they're not going to be part of this. You know, so my dad was 14 at the time when that happened. My mom came here similarly. So they met when they were about 18 years old. So they both met in Houston. And then my mom wanting identity and something different, they ended up moving here to Dallas, and I was born here in Dallas when they were 20. So to think about, I try to, you know, a lot of the times during my journey, I think about, you know, like, why am I so stubborn, or why do I get so stuck on a particular subject that really matters to me, and why, you know, and then I have but to look at my parents and their journey and their story, and I think about, just the bravery that it would take, like here you and I are in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
We are in America. Like I want to create a business. I see a need. I can work hard and make that happen. And to think how bad a situation would have to be for you to, like, let's say Canada was China and they spoke Chinese. And so like how bad would the situation have to be here for you to like physically walk to Canada that's, China per se. You don't speak the language, you don't know anyone.
Right.
And you're just going to risk it because that has to be better than what you're currently living. And so when I think about that and I see what my parents had to create, right, that wasn't there. There wasn't anybody showing them or teaching them. My mom's pretty much illiterate, but she's a business owner in her own right, and she can't really read or write or things like that.
You have it honest. Yeah.
And she's had to, as a child, helping to translate and fill out paperwork and things for her growing up. My dad did construction. He did on-end jobs. He did construction by day. Then he would come home and work on the different cars in the front yard. And it just, we're a really close-knit family. I've got my two brothers. We're really, really close. And one of the things that was really important growing up was my dad saying, I could have other jobs that aren't going to be as physically taxing, but nothing's more important than coming home to you guys at the end of the day. Right. So just really seeing, being valued, being wanted, and seeing that people are willing to do any, random odd-end jobs, and then things that, inspired him, he could do them at home when he got home, So as long as he was providing for us and just those experiences growing up, and then seeing, we were really involved in a church growing up. And so seeing the transition from a sawdust covered construction worker who would shower, clean shave, put on his button down shirt, slacks, dress shoes to teach Sunday school, that really kind of resonated with me. And so the passion for wanting to learn straight razor shaving came from just watching that transformation. Like,
that's an interesting place for it to start, because that could have just been a thing in passing. So for you to gravitate to that is actually pretty interesting. Yeah.
And so I think that that's a lot of the relationship between a father and daughter, because I have my two brothers, and then I have, obviously love my mom, but it was just a different, my dad just was a natural teacher. He just enjoyed explaining things. And so I think that that's one of the reasons, like one of my top 5 strengths is learner. And so the more that you're willing to share information with me, the more I'm going to want to pick it up, because it's just one of the things that guides me. So, I think it was primarily that connection. And then growing up in Grand Prairie, Texas, there was always a barber school that we used to go by all the time. And so I just knew that was there. And then my mom was actually really tender-headed. So anytime combing her hair, so I was like, I cannot do women's hair, because she's the only woman I had.
I'm a little tender-headed too.
See,
I understand.
So it's tough. I couldn't, she wanted me to braid her hair or things, like she's always had long, beautiful hair. And so I was just like, I can't do women's hair, because I just assumed all women were the same way. I didn't know, she's the only woman I interacted with like that. So trying to combine my passion for massage therapy as well. So any time that there's a form of soothing, whether it's a hug or a massage, touch is really helpful and immediately impactful. And it's a tool that's always with you. Like,
it's funny you said that, because I was searching for a person to do my hair, which, thank you for the reference, by the way, 2 weeks. But it is very important to me. So when I'm in my search for someone to do my beard or my hair, there has to be a certain a connection to it. If I feel that like the energy is off, you can't touch me. And I know that's weird for people. It might be weird, but I thought maybe I was crazy. But it's just like there has to be an energy there. If it's not right, I'm not sitting in your chair. It's just not happening. So
that is not weird.
Okay.
I've actually experienced that as well with like tattoo artists. So somebody may have like a huge following and they're like the celebrity of whatever. But if we meet and I paid a deposit and we don't connect, like just go ahead and keep it. Thank you so much for your time. We are not for each other because I'm not going to sit. We have a choice. But again, we live in a country and a society where you can make a choice and you can. And so I think, again, understanding, seeing, growing up, visiting every summer to where we're from, it's like you do have a choice. And so it's extremely important to me to be intentional about every interaction, right? So if I'm here with you, I'm fully 100%
I appreciate
here
that.
with you. And so I think that just really does come from trying to appreciate the efforts of those that have come before us, and then try to say, okay, those are the mistakes that were made, or those are potential pitfalls. We're going to make mistakes, but let's not make the same ones.
Yes. It sounds like you're very connected to your roots and your journey. So let me ask you this. How do you apply that to the way that you groom your students? You said that you have a certain way that you groom your students based on experience. How do you apply your experiences to the way that you groom the students that are coming after you or under you? How do you apply that?
So I love that question, because especially whenever you enroll in a program. So if you have no background in it, now it's 1,000 physical hours to become a barber. Okay. So when you start getting at your 750, 800 hours, we're your cheerleaders. We hype you up. There's a system. There's amazing clientele. Our price point is for that, to attract a clientele that you would be aligned with what you would be actually seeing once you graduate, right? So when you start getting towards those 750, 800 hours, senioritis starts kicking in, right? Where you know everything, you've been there, done that. Yeah. And especially during that season, I've been doing this 8 years now. I've had the honor of being able to work with people this long. And it's I'm not saying every student has it, but it's just a season where we start. And part of it is our own insecurity.
Right.
Like, I'm about to be out on my own. So am I ready? Do I have all of the skills that I need? So maybe if I pretend like I do, then I do, right? So we have a system, and 42% of the people that have graduated from our program are successful business owners now.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
That's very cool.
So when people go, well, what if this or that? I'm not saying I'm not open to certain suggestions, but after you've graduated and you've obtained your license and you're successfully working as a barber, I'll buy you a cup of coffee and you can give me your opinion at that point.
Yeah.
Because at this point, you haven't completed anything.
Right.
And so, I haven't seen, the result to me isn't just them passing their written and their practical exams, because that's the bare minimum that the state requires.
Right.
What matters to me is, of the people that are graduating from our program, how many are barbers today? And when I first opened my school in 2015, I was the only educator, and I look at my very first class, it was 8 students. So 3 of them were in the longest program, had no background in it, and 5 of them were cosmetologists that were crossing over into barbering. Of those 3 that were in the full program, 100% of them are very happy, successful barbers today. 2 out of those 3 own their own businesses. They're not like, barbering isn't like a side hustle for them. Right. That's their career. It's their passion. It's what they love doing. They've traveled the world doing that.
Right.
And that to me is the result.
Right.
Right. So, it just depends on longevity and what you're seeing. And again, I'm not saying that there aren't ways to constantly improve, because I think we can constantly improve. However, with more Uber and more things being automated and AI'd and all of that kind of stuff, human connection, actual touch and energy cannot be replaced. So as much as you can simulate it and AI it and try and replicate that, a barber is so much more than a person that just cuts your hair. So they can help refer you to, hey, I noticed this. We've been able to catch cancer, precancerous cells on the scalp, right?
Oh, wow.
Hey, this is looking kind of weird. I think you should go get this checked out. Turns out it's cancer,
Would never
has to be
think of that.
removed.
Okay, yeah.
When you're going to, my clientele, I've had them decades. I know them. I know how their skin reacts. I know what's going on. So if I'm noticing certain changes, I can communicate that. Hey, I need you to go talk to a doctor and I need you to ask A, B, and C and see if anything else needs to be checked out.
Yeah.
And they know they're going to be accountable to me in their next haircut. So the likelihood of them actually getting it checked out is way more.
Yeah.
And they know that I care about it. I'm invested in their health and everything, not just their haircut.
I can tell you, I told my barber this morning, I was like, I'm a little nervous about today because I'm always nervous before every single show. It's just how I operate.
Because you care.
Yeah, because I care. And he was just like, no, you got to keep that shit going. He's like, you just got to keep going. He's like, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. You're doing fine. Just keep, he's like a confidant as well. So the barber is more than, like you said, is more than just a barber for sure.
And also, he's talking to people in all walks of life.
Exactly.
So when you're saying, hey, I'm nervous about this, he probably has 2 or 3 other clients that are ahead of you.
Right.
And he's seeing what is that particular skill that makes it keep going. And that's the main thing is maintain. I call it staying in your lane. It's so hard.
Yeah, it is.
Even in driving here in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, God, Dallas driving. I talk about it all the time. It's so bad. but it's true.
Staying in your
it's
lane.
Very, very true.
It's hard. It requires discipline. It requires intention and it requires accountability of being responsible for yourself and what's important to you and what you want to continue going forward.
So you said improvement. Let me ask you this. This is one of my favorite questions to ask. What is your greatest failure?
My greatest failure.
That's always the response for us, too. It's like you have to think for a minute. I know.
Right, because I know that there are some. I'll say my most recent failure would be last fall. We were growing into the barbershop among the cars. So
yeah, that thing is cool.
It is so cool. So that opportunity happened. I oversaw the build out for that. And on top of having the Barber Academy. So it's the barbershop, Blade Craft Barber Shop. And it is inside of the Shop Club here in Dallas, which is a luxury car storage facility that also has a co-working space, that also has an amazing restaurant. So Chef Dishman used to be the chef for the Dallas Cowboys, and his menu is phenomenal. It's constantly changing. It's always amazing. So when you walk in, everybody's welcome. You can go in and eat at the restaurant, but the co-working space is members only, as is the showroom floor, because those are actual people's cars.
Okay.
Right? So we built a 2-chair barbershop there. And so as that started going, we were like, you know what? We're going to hire a marketing company to come in and help us with our social media content, because now we have not only the Barber Academy, which has, who are we targeting? Right. So we've got students, and then we've got the actual people that are coming in to get their services in Deep Ellum. And then now we have a luxury barbershop.
Right.
So those are 2 completely different markets. Right. And then they're 2 very different businesses. So I had, my staff and I, we started screening different people. I had who I thought was my favorite, and then the team had their favorite. So I said, you know what, we're going to go with who everybody is more excited about working with, because I want them to want to collaborate.
Right.
Well, the company dropped the ball on so many levels. So to put it into context, we started working with them late September, early October. So then our January start date was the slowest start date we'd ever had.
Oh, wow.
Then March was the second slowest start date we'd ever had. Right. So right about mid-January, we're like, forget this. Like we've got to pull out. And that was a whole debacle. But my team, they believe in what we're doing. And so it was like, this was a mistake we all made together. And so I know it's time consuming to get the content and do all of that. And it was going to free up time for us to do other more valuable things, we thought, but it didn't work out. So we then had to come to that realization of like, we made a decision. it didn't work. We now have to eat this mistake. And so now we have to go back and pre-plan again and take back over. And again, it's time consuming, right? And we're kind of constantly, if there's a delay in something, then I personally have to do it and book a few days out in advance and tell the ladies, hey team, I see we didn't get caught up. So I build up 3 days in advance, and then they'll catch up the next 15 days after that. Right. And then we kind of trying to keep the plate spinning, right? But it's not our favorite. Like, it's not what we like to do as content creators. That's not what we want to be doing. Right. We want to be talking to the people walking in the door. We want to give people a tour of the academy. We want to actually make lather. I want to actually teach my students. I want to invest in my team. My most important, my favorite thing to do is develop them. Right. And that requires time. I prefer to do that than make freaking content.
But you're really good at it though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes I'm like, okay, when she posts, I gotta post because she's like on like a damn schedule. It's like a schedule. It's like every morning when I wake, because I wake up every day by 5 or 5:30. Okay. There's a post going out by 7, and there's another one by lunch, and there's another one midday, and then there's a one for dinner. And I'm just eating Blade Craft content on my timeline all day long, and it's not a bad thing because in actuality, that's how I found you, right? So obviously it works. Awesome. But if you don't like to create content, I can't tell because you're creating content like around it's you and your bulldog and your shop, and like it's just constant. Like honestly, I was standing in line at a bar, which I hate going to bars in Deep Ellum, but I was standing in line at the bar the one time I went out, and my guys that come up from Houston like, hey, isn't that one lady you're interviewing like in a few weeks? And I was like, oh shit, there it is. It's Blade Craft. And so like, obviously like it sticks, right? Like even they remember, and they've only seen you maybe a couple of times, but they saw your content and they're from Houston and they pointed it out. And so like
it's working.
It works. Yeah, it absolutely works. Even though you don't like doing it, I can tell you it works. So.
Well, and it's interesting because for, a lot of like the branding, even what I wear, like my cup here, there's a lady that hand makes this stuff, right? And
need her information.
Yes. Yeah. Bling Assassin on Instagram. She's amazing.
Bling Assassin.
And you send her your logo and she can make you she's amazing.
We just got 2 fresh logos made by Afro-Draw Customs this morning. They just came back. So yeah, I will have to send her some stuff over for sure.
Awesome. She does a great job. She manually does it, right? So that's the other thing is I go, okay, I have my own business and I have decisions I get to make. And so if I have a choice and I can work with somebody that is manually doing something, so like our screen printer, Llewellyn Print Shop out of Deep Ellum, they have made our t-shirts since we opened.
Oh, you are tied into Deep Ellum. I like that though. Everyone is exchanging business. That's awesome though.
I have really a choice.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And so do I want my community to thrive or not? Right. And then at the end of the day, but then you also have the other, right? I've had a situation where there's a coffee shop that I used to, go to regularly. And then the barista there was just not very kind. And she was just unhappy all the time. It's like, I think you need a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then I remember it was this whole thing, and I have my brothers and my husband. We're on a group chat, and I can ask, am I being a baby about this, or am I being, but they can filter things, right? So if I do find myself in an emotion, I can say, hey, I'm feeling this way. This happened. I'm feeling this way. Is that what are your thoughts? And they can say whatever. And my brother that's a year younger than me said, she was supposed to give you a dose of grace that morning, because what the coffee shop person didn't realize was I'd had a neurologist appointment that morning, and the treatment that they had to do was basically stab my skull with, I'd had a migraine for 5 months.
Wow.
The same one.
So was it like relief of pressure?
Oh my God. So it was lidocaine.
Side tangent.
Yes.
Now I'm curious. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it was lidocaine. It's just, she's like, we could do it real fast. I'm like, no. I'll come back later. Like trying to come back with somebody else.
Don't do anything with my skull real fast.
Thank you.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she's like, no. It only takes 15 minutes and it's going to get rid of your migraine. And then we'll be able to give you this medicine and then you'll be able to keep going. And I'm like, I'm like teaching today. I don't think this is a great idea. Yeah. And she's like, it's numbing, right? So it's lidocaine, it's numbing, so you won't feel it, right? So this is like, Deep Ellum. So this is
Yes.
Baylor. So I'm at Baylor and, I go, okay, well, I'm going to try it. Oh my gosh. It was horrifying.
It sounds like it was.
So now I'm like bleeding out of my hair, down my ears.
God.
Yes. So I get in my cute little line to get my cute little cup of coffee. And then I just start feeling like
Hell.
gross.
Yeah.
And so I go,
Yeah.
can I just get an oatmeal instead of like with it? Maybe if I like eat something, I won't pass out. So I get yelled at about like where I was parking, and it was this whole, and I'm just like, I can't brain right now. So am I like in the wrong or like,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, let me just sit the fuck down and eat my strawberries and then text my brothers, and they're like, no, like from that door out is not, they're going to like, that was not cool. And obviously I'm not going to go into this whole spiel with this person that has a line on a cup of coffee. Right. And I was so upset because I wanted to support this business so badly. It had already had issues before, and I wanted so badly to support it.
Right.
And after that decision, my brother's like, no, you were supposed to be giving a cup of grace that morning, and you didn't receive that, and you have a choice. And I thought to myself, you know what? He's right. I want to buy a cup of coffee from somebody that's excited to sell it to me, just like I am.
It's funny you said that. This morning, sitting in the chair, I was explaining to my barber that you had referred someone for my hair, right? Because I've been trying to find, it's hard to find someone that does dreadlocks. By the way, I'm going back to dreadlocks if you guys didn't know. But it's very hard to find someone that you can get that done. It's efficient. It's good work. It's quality. It's the whole energy thing. And I told him, I was like, as a barber, if I meet you for the first time and you don't, not necessarily wow me, but if the energy's off, that person's not coming back. He's like, exactly. I was like, so when you're providing a service, this is still providing a service, even though it may not seem like it's very unorthodox. This conversation is still a service.
Absolutely.
If it's not comforting and comfortable and like you don't feel welcomed and all that, you're not going back. And so there was a dreadlock lady in that same building, never going to say any names, just kind of just the personality was, It was always kind of disregarding. I was like, I'm good, because if that's how you feel about me, you're not touching this. I don't give a shit how cheap it is or how expensive it is. It's never going to happen.
No.
And the person you referred me is bringing me back to what you just said. She was so accommodating. I didn't have to call her. She called me. I didn't have to ask, do you need pictures? She asked for them. She consulted with her boss. She got the game plan down, contacted me for the game plan and see if I was okay with it. I was like, yo, this is a different experience. Never had anyone take that much care before even meeting me. So I'm going. It was just those little intangibles that makes you support a business. And I don't know if people really understand that. When you're a small business, you have to be so good at the intangibles. You have to be so personable and welcoming, because we could easily just go to Supercuts or any other place. If you don't have that, you're not going to have a business. You just can't.
Well, and let's say something did cost a little bit more, if you really enjoy it and you feel that connection, you'll wait. You'll wait a little bit longer to make sure you can afford it, or whatever the situation may be, because you're going to want to support that business continually.
Exactly.
And so that was one of the things that I realized was, so I stopped going. And, about a week into it, my husband's like, oh, and I go, oh yeah, I haven't had coffee. He's like, whoa, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah.
I'm assuming you don't make it at home. That's what this sounds like.
Okay. No, I don't make coffee at home. Okay. And so he goes, you haven't had coffee for the past however long? And I'm like, no. He goes, how could you do that? You've had a cup of coffee every morning. I'm like, because I'm not going to buy a cup of coffee. And so now my husband's kind enough that he makes my cup of coffee every morning now.
Kudos to that guy. Good job, man.
He's the best.
Good job, hubby.
Shout out to the hubs. But yeah, so because we have a choice.
You do.
And so that's the thing, is anytime somebody walks in our door, we feel honored, excited, happy. They had a choice. They could have gone anywhere else. For their education, it's a very vulnerable season. And they chose Blade Craft Barber Academy for us to help them see within themselves how to be awesome and make that change in their community. So while they're in school, we show them, hey, we can do offsite events for, whether it's first responders, school teachers, anything that we feel is valuable to. Sometimes we do feel offsite at tattoo conventions. We'll take our barbershop to a tattoo convention.
That's cool.
So that our students can get the experience of really crazy. I mean, there's like a fire breather next to us while
it's literally like cross promo, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also while they're in school, they're exposed to really uncomfortable situations like that. So that then when they're graduated, they're like, I got this.
Yes. Exactly.
Let's do it. Oh yeah, I can come to you.
So here's a question for you. In this industry, because we have a choice, you could have chosen not to do it. I would assume that it is an industry that's dominated by men.
Yes.
I don't know if that's white men, black men, whoever, but it's dominated by men.
Yes.
You're a woman in the city of Dallas with the history that it has, with it being so difficult for people of color just to get a stronghold in any area in Dallas. What has that been like, and what is your driving force? I know your driving force as far as, your history, but currently, with all you have going on the past 8 years, what's kept you just moving along, especially being a woman in this industry?
So growing up, assisting my dad with construction jobs and things like that, it was the communication was always, if you want to do it, you can do it. Okay. Whatever you want to do, no matter who's supposed to do it. And then with our upbringing, it's like, well, if not me, then who? Like, I'm the one that's here.
Right.
Right. So if you, back to a massage or a hug or something like that, if the situation, one of our regulars, his wife happened to stop in one day and she was heartbroken because their pet had passed away and they don't have any family here. They're from India. And so I was like, oh heck no. Like I was like, hey, I'm grabbing you, and dipped her hands in paraffin, took her to the back, gave her hand and forearm massage, gave her this big hug.
That sounds wonderful.
It was amazing, yeah. But she was heartbroken, yeah. And her hubby could only console her to a certain amount, but there's just like this connection that she needed. And after that, she has, it's funny because we've hung out a couple times and she's always mentioned how much that meant to her. And for me, I'm like, it's just obvious. Like I saw it. I saw that she needed physical touch and I just did it. Right. She allowed me to do it. So
that's what she needed in that moment.
Also, but that's also the amazing thing. So with men, right, I've got like deep South old men that don't let anybody touch them.
Yeah, I can see that.
They are very strict, starch pants, cowboy boots. They don't let anybody touch them. And so if I'm like, we're doing a shampoo facial, this is what we're doing, they grant me access.
Yeah.
Why? They need it, they appreciate it, but it's also they allow it.
Right.
Right. So would they allow that same access to a big dude barber? I'm not sure.
I see. Okay.
Maybe or maybe not.
It's the old woman's touch saying.
Potentially. Yeah. My brother, who's also a barber, he says his saying is, it's only weird if you make it weird.
Yeah.
And so he has the ability to relax his clients as well, in a very similar way, but he was trained at our academy. And so it's part of our culture is the facials and the hand and forearm massages and all that kind of stuff. So people they see it like a medicine, like a balm, they're
going for more than just the cut, essentially.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so, I think too, whenever I was going to barber school, I was one of the only women there, and my boys, they were the ones that taught me how to cut hair.
Yeah.
They were welcoming to me. They were the ones that said, you don't sit your clippers like that. You don't lay them that way. You don't do this. You do that. They're the ones that communicated that to me because I don't get a bald fade. I have no idea. I don't get a taper.
That makes sense.
I don't get a straight razor face shape. I don't know what that naturally feels like.
Okay.
So they were accepting of me and they were encouraging of me. And any place that I've gone, any country that I visited, and I stop into a barbershop and I say, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. Every single time, there was one barbershop in New York of like 8 that I visited that wasn't like that. But I think that's just New York anyway. But every other place in the world, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like backstage access. Like, oh, what clippers do you use? What trim? Like, this is what I'm using. And then the client's like, hi, remember me? Because we just start fangirling out about whatever we're working on. And I've never not felt invited.
That's cool.
But I also I've also wanted to be there too. Right. So I've never, and that could be anything, right? There can be women in the beauty field that they're just kind of like the celebrity things where they feel like, well, I'm just a bit, do you know who I am kind of concept.
Right. Or you can do the work, essentially.
Yeah. So with my staff, I'm a broken record because I'm like, no one knows who we are. No one knows what we do. And nobody's more excited to tell them than we are.
I like that.
And I think as long as I keep leading with that, because think about the amount of people that have moved to Dallas, like, why would anybody know, like, what's required to become a barber? Why would anybody know any of these things? I don't know what it takes to be a brain surgeon. Like,
Right.
Why would anybody know anything else? So if I'm excited about it and I'm constantly passionate about it, some of my clients are like, you're more excited to shave me than this girl just loves cutting my hair. I don't know what it is, but so I'm gonna come back to see her because it makes her day. But it's almost like I care more about it than even the client does.
Right.
So, and that feels nice, with all the concerns that we have.
But if you turn that off, then you don't have what you have. If that's not a part of it, then what are you even doing at that point? Does that make sense? So you can't turn that part off. That's a part of you. That's a part of your business. So let me ask you this. Where do you see, it's been 8 years?
It'll be 8 years in May that we started our own class, but I started my build
what?
May 5th. May 8th.
I thought you were going to say 14th. That's my birthday. That's still cool, though. That's
May
pretty
8th.
cool.
Yeah, 2015.
So what came first, the school or the barber shop? Or is it one and the same?
So it's the Barber Academy.
It's a barber academy.
And then I've always still had a suite where I've always taken care of my clientele. I'm never not going to cut their hair.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, so I've still see my clients.
So what do you see for yourself and your business and everything that you have? Let's say 5 to 10 year plan. What's your plan for the future?
So I love that question too, because I like to play best case scenario, right? Okay. So I enjoy that conversation because I think it's very easy to think about, well, what if something goes wrong? Like our mind's going to automatically go there. Right. I like best case scenario. And so base case scenario would be to continue developing my team and my staff and to continue, changing the narrative that Deep Ellum is just a dangerous place because it's a really wonderful place.
It's gotten that lately, yeah.
It's easy. We got a weird next door email the other day about some weird thing. It was on Maple and Ruth, but it was tagged Deep Ellum. And I'm like, bro, that's not even over here.
You do have the one shirtless guy that's always out there, though. He's interesting. He's just kind of floating around Deep Ellum.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's like,
that's every city you go to, though. There's going to be pockets of that stuff. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't take away from what the history is and what it can be. And
that's part of it too. Is it's like I was speaking to a city official, and he started to kind of complain about something. And I'm like, bro, I'm gonna stop you right there because that's like me complaining about having to sweep hair as a barber.
It's part of it.
It's part of it. Yep. So the moment that we are in an urban community. And the moment that we are in a place that has walkability, what do you think there are going to be people walking around?
That's what happens.
That's part of it.
Everyone wants to live in a bubble.
Which is gross. Which would be weird.
That's Highland Park. I don't want to live in a bubble. That's your neighborhood, no offense, but
I guess suburbia claustrophobia.
It's a bubble. I actually like that we shoot downtown. I actually like to have to spend a lot of my time in downtown because it's the most city I can get for Dallas. I don't care about being in a bubble. I'm fine with, even though I don't go to Deep Ellum as much at night anymore because I'm busy during the day. Yeah. But it doesn't bother me as much as you'd think it would. It's part of it. Dallas is going to be Dallas. The city's going to be the city. There's nothing you can do about that. So. Yeah,
and then I think too, it's just, but it comes back down to human interaction.
Exactly.
There's this homeless guy who has a really inappropriate signs all the time. He literally just goes, "Good morning, teacher." He doesn't ask me for money. He doesn't insult me.
He doesn't even know if you're a teacher.
He knows that I'm a teacher at the academy, right? Okay. So he just goes, "Good morning, teacher." And I say, "Good morning. I hope you have a great day." That's it. He doesn't,
It can all be a part of the storyline. It doesn't have to. You can't just keep taking things out. Or then the city kind of loses its integrity. So I get it.
Yeah, and again, it's not perfect, but it's such a beautiful neighborhood. There's so much art. There's so much.
And history.
So much history.
Mm-hmm.
You walk down, all of those different businesses are owned by someone that cares. The small business owner is working there at some time of the day.
Deep Ellum doesn't have anything other than, there's a 7-Eleven, but there's mostly no corporate anything there. It's all privately owned, right?
Yes. Okay. And so when we think about who is Deep Ellum for,
business owner.
It's the small business owner. And so if you aren't sponsoring that, if you're not supporting that, then who is it for? True. If all the small business owners leave Deep Ellum and go to Uptown and wherever,
then it looks just like any other place.
Then there's nothing there, right? Yeah. What are you going to do? Line it up with, I don't know, fast food chains? I don't know. Who?
Pretty much. That's probably what would happen, honestly. That's what happens to most other parts of town. It's all fast food. It's replicated. It's Chick-fil-A. It's McDonald's. It's the same Velvet Taco. It's the same thing over and over and over. So Deep Ellum has that one unique niche thing that most places don't, which is small business owners. Question for you: how does it how does it compare to Bishop Arts? What is the difference for those people who don't know? Because Bishop Arts is small business too, but
Bishop Arts is small business. I would say one of the main things that I see when I visit Bishop Arts is that there's quite a bit more retail.
I got you. Okay.
And Deep Ellum has some retail and it's getting more, but it tends to be, if you think about the daytime, there is some retail and amazing food.
Yeah.
And then it's like you have amazing foods, light retail, and then you have the nighttime, which is bars and restaurants, right? Live music venues. And so I think Bishop Arts doesn't have as much of, I mean, they've got the cool swing band. I don't know what it's called, but
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Right. So you've got like that, but you're not going to have the volume you have at the Bomb Factory, or trees or things like that. Right. I mean, like Club Dada and all those trees, they bring bands from all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
they do.
All over the world.
And they always have, as long as they've been there for years too.
Yes. So Jeff Floyd, the guy that's in charge there, he goes, he was so sweet. He gave me an amazing pep talk I didn't know I needed. He's like, he goes, because he's nighttime and I'm daytime. So he goes, you make Deep Ellum badass in the daytime and we keep Deep Ellum badass in the nighttime. And he says, if I can get 20 more years of bringing in random bands from all over the world, I'm going to keep doing it. And he's in his mid 60s, right? So
damn, that's cool.
Yeah. And
wow.
I even go, who do you have playing this week? He goes, I couldn't tell you, but they're from wherever, but they're coming here so that people can hear them. So if we don't support that,
right, then
interesting, you end up with blah.
Here's a random question. Mr. Bergman, Wes Bergman, if you can speak, what is it like? I've been watching Real World since I was a kid. So I was like, that was me that asked you. I was like, is that Wes from the Real World on Facebook? And you're like, yeah, that's him. I was like, that's so random. What is he doing in your chair, in your shop? Like how did that connection even, not to fanboy out, but how would that connection even be made? Like,
okay. So full disclaimer, I do not watch reality TV.
I don't anymore, but I used to.
Another disclaimer, I've never been drunk in my life. I don't drink alcohol. I know.
That is why you're getting so much done. Good for you. There you go. That'll help you a lot.
I'm real good at tripping and falling by myself, and I can dance real good just by myself.
Yeah, that'll get a lot done without alcohol for sure.
Yeah. So, and I say those two things because it's like, as soon as I was invited to this, so a friend of mine, Lindsay Smith, who is the founder of the Independent Beauty Professional, she was a part of the very first season for the blocks. So Weston Bergman, what people don't understand is when you have any kind of platform, you have one right now, right?
Yeah.
We're only going to get one face of who you are because of this platform, right? Okay. We're not going to be able to get the beauty of you as a father with your cute little 1-year-old, right?
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
We're not going to be able to see that, right? Because that's not this platform, right? So with Wesson being a reality show star, he has actually invested, or he actually owns 5% of over 300 companies.
That's where this real world money's been going. Good job, man. That's smart. Good job.
He's in his hometown in Kansas, and he has an accelerator program he's been working on behind the scenes for about 10, 12 years now, in where he has an accelerator system, because what we have for entrepreneurship in colleges or whatever is not reality.
No.
Okay. So I didn't go to college.
I did, and I can tell you, no.
Okay. Yeah. And then it's going to be hard to keep it up to date. Right. So he realized this, and the accelerator program is usually about a year, and he takes ownership so that everybody's invested, and then you interact with the firm, and his firm also does consulting for businesses that are looking for venture capitalists or to scale or hit different levels. Wow. And it's a whole team. It's not he's really great at this. So his alter ego, his Clark Kent of the Superman, right? 'Cause Superman's who's on TV.
Right.
Is helping small businesses grow and develop,
That's
and
honorable. That's
is
really cool.
got his fingers in a bunch of different industries.
You wouldn't know that from watching the challenge.
No, you would not.
Yeah.
But that is a
Yeah.
lane that he stays in.
Right, exactly.
And so I was really lucky to get to be a judge on the Blocks, which is the largest live-in entrepreneurship challenge.
Wow, I see what he did there. That's actually pretty cool. Okay. He took the idea that he was a part of and just kind of did a spin-off on its own thing. I get it. That's actually really cool.
Yes.
Very creative.
One of the things that we learned was your most viable product. So you take a small thing that works really well, and then you make sure it works really, back to staying in our lane.
Yes.
Okay. So when he, the first 3 episodes, so for context, the first 3 episodes, he rented a couple mansions, brought in some entrepreneurs, brought in a couple judges, and taught the different lessons. And then they compete to win the best of the blocks.
Right.
Okay. So then to film the first 3 seasons, he invested maybe $50,000 in doing so. In our season that just aired a week ago, he spent $250,000.
And where did it air?
On an app called The Blocks, Beta Blocks. So
Okay, I
it's
think
a
I've seen
free
this.
app.
Okay.
It's a free app, and if you go to season 4, you'll be able to. You can binge watch it on the app. He's also doing a drip campaign on Facebook where he's releasing the episodes slowly through there. The goal, it's 80% education, 20% entertainment. What was really amazing to be a part of this experience, because I was there as a judge. Okay, so there's 60 different companies, and I had a pod every day, and in my pod are 10 different companies.
Wow.
And I'm ranking them based on their pitches and their performance. And then I also get to meet with them individually for 15 minutes, each company. What was super powerful about it was how intentional and present everybody was, because they knew tomorrow they're not in my pod. Wow. So those 15 minutes, any form of information or anything I can offer to them, they want it, because tomorrow they'll be with one of the other judges, and they all vary in their industries. They are in marketing. They could be in social media advertising, like digital search engine optimization. We had guy that like takes businesses that are struggling and flips them, and that's where he's been kind of living. Wow. And then we have another guy that was in franchising. So today your coach specializes in this thing. Tomorrow your coach is going to be completely different.
That's actually really cool.
It was so cool.
It's like a boot camp almost.
It was absolutely a boot camp. And what was the most inspiring for me to watch was, one, sitting in the classes and actually getting the information, because it's a 2-hour class that was being taught. And then they're giving their challenge, like, hey, you have 20 minutes to put a 3-minute pitch on copywriting. And cool. Then I would rank them and then do and then at the end, whoever won the pods, they get to compete in front of everybody. It was really intense. What was super crazy was to see the amount of collaboration.
Right.
Because they're all living together.
It could be chaos.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were times where they would have to have pitch offs, I guess I would call them, because right. Their points were exactly the same, because we have to rank them. And so it's like they both were.
It's almost like selling your elevator pitch over and over and over again.
Except that every day it's different. Right. So on one day you may have copywriting, and then the next day it would have been lead nurturing and lead generation. Because lead generation, you're acquiring a client; nurturing, you're maintaining that client. Right. Best part is all of this is available for free for any entrepreneur that needs it now. So being able to be a part of that experience, being in a reality show, like you're filmed, it was 16-hour days.
Yeah.
And the moment you come out of your room, you're filmed, you're mic'd and you're filmed. Wow. So,
was it fun though?
It was a blast. Okay. I did sleep 17 hours when I got home.
I bet you did. Yeah.
It was amazing. But, as I'm watching Wes's trainings and stuff, I'm just looking at his beard and I see all of this potential. My husband's a ginger as well. So I'm looking at his beard and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could totally. And so I emailed him, I'm like, look, man, I'm bringing my tools if you're going to allow me to take care of you. And Fun fact, he'd never had a barber cut his hair or his beard. He's been doing it this whole time.
Really?
Yes. Yes. So whenever,
Really?
yes.
Man, he's missing out.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I've had a barber my whole life. Yeah, you can't. It's like essential. You got to have it. Yeah.
But if you didn't know,
yeah, I can see where that's weird. You'd think every guy knows.
no, he didn't know. And so again,
Men, get a barber. It's really it's the most relaxing thing you ever have. It's you got to have it.
it's
You
a
gotta
man's
have
spa
it.
day. And then you have the
gotta
street
have
cred
it.
that you were the barber.
Yeah. What? That's so crazy.
He didn't know. He had no idea. And so it was really great because after I cut his, like, he was like, by the way, I'm like, what? You know, so I cleaned up his, of course I tapered him and everything. And he's
Gotcha.
like, when his buddy walked in, he was like, whoa, you got lined up, you know? And I was like, y'all watch out.
Dudes know when dudes get lined up.
Yes.
And I knew that if I didn't get lined up, I would have come in here and been like, okay, you didn't take care of this. Because I knew you were going to know. So you got to get this shit right. So hopefully he did a good job.
He did a great
all right,
job.
cool. But yeah, you got to have a barber, man. That's essential.
But if you've never experienced it, and so that was part of it too, was, you know, I was like, before, same thing I told my husband, I'm like, look, I'm going to take care of you. This experience is going to be like no other. So going forward, this is going to be your expectation. Like, this is going to be the bar. I'm letting you know right now. And I even took pictures of the side and the back. And I'm like, this is what it's supposed to be. And this is why somebody else has to do it. And this is what, and then it's like, I'm like, now, second disclaimer, the amount of swag you're going to have and how much you're going to feel yourself when we're done, you're not going to fit on the sidewalk. Like, I'm telling you right, my husband, when he gets cleaned up, it's
Seriously.
like, Lord, let me just walk across the street or something. Because there's a pep in his step.
Oh, you should have saw my headshots from earlier. I was like, let me see him. Let me see how they look. I was like downstairs, like, let me see again. Do it again.
I look so good.
You got
That looks
yes.
great.
Question for you, beard wise, how do you soften this crap up? Because like that's the one thing my barber doesn't do is he'll do everything else lined up right, but I don't know that he does all the softening and the treatment. How do you treat your beard properly? Like,
So once your beard is like an inch or longer, you're going to need, so Perasso has a great beard line. They have a hot oil treatment. So you basically take hot water and you put the bottle of the oil in there, and then you would let that sit in your beard, put a hot towel over it for about Bree that's doing your locks. She can actually do it for you.
Bree, you heard that. Need that done. Add that to the list of things.
She'll be
to
able
do.
to do it.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's incredible. She'll be able to do it. So, and then once the other thing people don't realize is beard oil is actually meant for your skin. And then the beard balm is for your actual beard. So if your
Teach
beard,
me, I had no idea.
yes. So if your beard is longer than like half an inch, you need a balm, a beard balm.
So, am I longer than? I
Yeah,
gotta be
absolutely,
longer. Okay,
absolutely.
I
So
gotta be,
basically, if it's 5 o'clock shadow longer than that, like you're in week 2, you need a balm and not a beard oil.
Right.
Now, life hack, beard hack. You're welcome in advance. You have to blow dry your beard.
Say what?
You have to blow dry your beard.
Oh, really?
Yes. So when you get out of the shower, you put your beard balm on, or you'll towel dry. You'll put your beard balm on. You're going to blow dry your beard the opposite way it lays.
So for me, blow it up, basically.
You would blow it up.
Okay.
And then you would blow it down to finish.
Interesting. Why?
Because it's going to seal the cuticle of your beard in that direction. So the whole day, your beard is going to lay the way that you walked out.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
So now it's not when your neck, your collar is messing on your
My
beard.
beard gets everywhere. It's extra curly too. Does that make it? Because I don't know how
So
to get
if you dry it, it will
Okay.
lay the way that you want it
Wow. Okay. I did not know that.
to. Yes.
I need something because it's dry, and I've been putting beard oil because I didn't know the balm was a thing. So okay.
Because right now what's happening is the oil is just going on your beard. It's not even going on your skin. It's meant to be on your skin.
And it doesn't last very long either.
No.
That makes sense.
You need a balm.
Okay. I learned something new today.
Yep.
You taught me something. That's good. I like learning. So yeah.
Great.
Last question. I know you're on a time limit. For a person that is wanting to emulate you, for a person, doesn't matter, male, female, young, old, that wants to at least try. I know you probably have had nights where you're like, I don't even know if this shit's gonna work. Like, there's people that are just wondering, like, where do I go? Like, how do I get started? What would you tell that person that's just even thinking about taking that route? What would be your advice to them?
Thank you for that question, because I see also people that maybe are in artists and they're painting their paintings and they want to go do that full time. So when I got started, I was working as a barber full time, and I got to a point where I was booked out 18 months in advance. So you couldn't get on my books because I was booked out because I had standing appointments. So if you were at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, you were on 6 p.m. on every other Tuesday because you weren't letting go of that spot kind of situation. That's the part that nobody wants to talk about because they think it's not sexy and it's not cool. So you have to become repetitively known for showing up. Right. You have to be consistently doing the thing. And so if your day job is not having an academy, I was a barber full time, right? So I didn't have an academy. Well, then on my downtime, I can start working on the things, whether that's making the curricula, whether that's understanding what a build out would take, whether that's understanding how to qualify for a small business loan, whether that's understanding my credit. Like, I need to be working on that on my downtime.
All the time.
If I'm not willing to work on that on my downtime, I'm not about shit.
That's a fact.
Because I can say all day long, like, oh, whatever, you're not about it. Because you're unwilling to do the uncomfort or the discomfort of having a day job. Like, if your day job is what's going to fuel your dream, then kick ass at your day job to the point that when it's time for you to go, they're like, can you work a couple more? Like, they want you to stay there.
Right.
When I was going to be separating from my company that I worked for, I had communicated when I worked with them, like, hey, I'm going to be able to work with you for about 2 years because this is going to be my long-term goal. I'm going to want to do my own thing. At that point, I didn't know it was an academy yet. I was doing my research for a barbershop, and the more that I traveled, the more that I saw that the need for the education, the way that I needed it to be, wasn't available. And so the more states that I visited, I was like, oh, heck no, I'm going to be hiring people and then needing to train them the correct way. And this is everywhere.
It's taking a step back, actually, if you do it that way.
And so I'm going to have to open up my own. I'm going to be in the same situation every barbershop I've ever worked at, which is who the hell they're going to hire because people aren't trained properly. So I don't want to be there. So I need to create an academy that teaches it the right way.
Wow.
And so that research taught me that. But if I would have been impatient and said, oh, I'm just going to open a school, which, you know, I love that a lot of my graduates, they've been behind the chair a year and they're going, hey, I think I want to open an academy. And I'm like, that's adorable. I think that's cute. How many people have you taught? None. Okay. Then let's take a baby step back because here's the deal. Can you get people to pay you for that which you want to do? One of my mentors told me early on, what is your job when you open this academy? And as much as I could say whatever, he said, you have one job, and that's to find money every day.
Wow.
And that is not cute. That's not, but that is how I'm going to feed my baby, which is the academy. Right. And so if I cannot do that, right? So, okay, you want to open an academy? Cool. Then offer 2 or 3 hour courses to teach something that you feel you're the best in. I'm the world's best straight razor shaver. Find somebody that can do it better than me. I would love to go take a class.
That's cool.
Yet to be determined because I'm the best. That is what I am the best at. I've done it in motion. They've built me a stage on wheels and I can shave in motion. It is my jam. That is, you want to see a bird flying, watch me shaving. Like it's what I'm supposed to be doing. It is the absolute coolest thing to see.
Give this beard a test run over there one of these days.
So that is my absolute passion. So if I can get people to pay me for that 1 time, 2 times, 3 times on a 3 hour basis, because here's the other part is we may think that, Miss Lilly makes it look really easy. Miss Lilly makes it look really, everything's organized. I created the structure. I made the way. So that's why it looks that way to you.
Right.
But if you're best at taper fading, cool. Then find yourself a Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday on your slowest days. Get on your social media, which remember how we started this conversation. I don't like doing that.
Yep. That's true.
back repeating. I don't like doing that. But guess what? It's what the heck I have to do to feed my dream,
Yeah.
which is to offer this opportunity to people that need it. So if I don't like doing it, it has to be done, then go and do a class a month. Hey, Mondays and Tuesdays from this time to this time, I'm doing a 3-hour class on whatever it is. How many times can you do that? Because part of it isn't, people want the platform. They want the platform to speak and have all these people listen.
Right.
But that isn't going to happen if you haven't proven it. And also, you may not like the platform.
Yeah. I've been in the studio I didn't really care for before. So
right.
It happens.
Yeah. So you may not like the platform. And what I mean by that is, let's say we get you 3 students that are willing to pay for what you're the best at. Then you realize you don't want to follow up with them, or you didn't like them, or you don't like keeping up the paperwork of reporting the hours to continuing education for TDLR, or you don't like any of that.
Yeah.
Then is it teaching? Because there's academies and there's barber schools that you could go and volunteer. You could go teach, right?
Right.
A couple days and see if you like it. Because I think a lot of times people think of the macro without understanding that it's the micro that makes that happen.
Yes.
And so then whatever that dream is, so if I'm really passionate about painting, I have a friend that's really talented in pet portraits. Her name's Zoe. But, if I'm really passionate about that, then my day job may mean I have to wait tables to be able to provide for myself until this other part takes off. And that in between is the part that a lot of people fail in. And it's not that they aren't capable, and it's not that they aren't willing. It's just, it's that discomfort of sitting in the grind, because once you become your own business owner, there is nobody else that's going to pick that up for you.
No.
And especially if it's something that is not cute, it's you who has to answer that. There isn't anybody else that's going to come in and say. Thankfully, our team at Blade Craft, we all, because I'm not a micromanager, we all know what everybody's strengths are. And so we try to lean in on each other for that. And so the team there, between Maddie, Layla, Kathia, Ms. Cruz,
Hi, everybody.
and Robin.
All the people she just said hello to all of you guys.
Yeah, they each have their own strengths, and they all believe in our mission, and most importantly, they want to be there and they want to teach because they believe in that. And already that in itself is massive. So if you're a student that's going to a place where the person that's there wants to be there and wants to share that, and is going to have the patience when you get through senioritis, because people act a fool, and it's like, it's really frustrating because you've got this person that's been there beside you, constantly coaching you, guiding you, and you're not giving them the level of respect they need. But then you go to a barber convention, complete stranger, but because they're on the platform, they're on that stage, they immediately have your respect, and you immediately give them the validation.
That sounds so familiar in podcasting. It really does.
They could have bad credit. They could be mean to their spouses. Like, right. I don't know who, and so I appreciate that there's the different platforms to share this education. But to me, my superstars are the people that are behind. It's the ones that are there with you constantly, consistently through your ups and downs.
Yes.
Because these ladies are, even if it's, there's so many things behind the scenes that they know about that they bend over backwards to make happen, that they don't have to, but it's their passion, and they understand how valuable it's going to be in the long run. So I think that really, it's how to start is, again, it's what's the big goal? What is it? I laughed the other day because somebody, I was at BarberCon, and a guy came up to me and he said, I want to work less. So I want to open up a barber school because I want to not have to, I want my time to be freed up.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
And so and then I said, well, where did you get the idea to want to open a barber school? And then it was like, well, he had his opinions. And then it was, well, somebody I worked with opened up a barber school, and they were behind the chair. They stopped being behind the chair because they got so busy with the barber school. And I said, stop right there. What is that? What did you just say to me?
They got so busy.
Why would you assume that you're different? Like, why do you think that you can open a business and it's just going to run itself?
If you're not there, it's going to fail. Period. That's just it. It's just going to fail. If I stop doing all the things I do for the show, there's no show.
Right.
That's not there. It's gone. So you have to, it's the intangible stuff. You have to be active. It takes consistency, time on task. It takes long nights. I'm up at 2 a.m. making posts to save for 6 a.m. I go back to sleep. I wake up. I get my new logos at 12:32 in the morning. Thank you, guys. Wake up. Okay, cool. We got new logos. I switch out all the logos on every single platform we have. Like, it's always going. Like, it's work. It doesn't seem like it's work, especially when we don't have brick and mortar per se. This isn't my studio, right? We rent spaces, but it doesn't matter. It's still work, time on task. Meeting you, getting you to come and sit with me, that's time on task. Meeting Will and all these other people that we probably know that are alike, it's time on task. It's not just passive. It's very, very active. There's no way you can get anything to be successful if you don't put your time into it.
Well, even
you know
just,
what I mean? Like,
absolutely, just even the creation. I mean, just the time it took for us to get on the page to book for us today.
time on task. If I don't continue to make the conversation happen, let's say she'll show up. Okay, cool, because you don't have to show up. You're a busy woman. You don't have to. If I don't reach out and say, hey, let's correlate, let's correspond, let's make our schedule work, it doesn't work. That you have to put time into every single element of your business. That's my advice to you guys. I know people want to know, and I'm assuming you're on the same page with that.
Absolutely. And that's not the visible part, right?
No, it's not.
That's not the part that they're like right now. They're listening to us on this podcast or they're watching us. And so they're seeing the actual product,
Right.
but all the behind the scenes, the intangible aspects of it.
Oh, yes. It's work.
Yeah.
It is tiresome, lonely nights. Long. There's been plenty of nights where I'm like, when does it go? Like, where does it, like, how? And so you just keep going. That's all. The one thing I can say, too, is just keep going. Even when you don't think you should, just keep going. I know for you, you said you've been in this for 8 years. We're like a year into this, and you've been in it for 8 years. And you said it's like, oh, it starts to like click.
And what I mean by that, because from a business standpoint, behind the scenes, it is terrifying as hell all the time.
Oh, yeah. Hell
Right.
yeah.
And behind the scenes, it's very terrifying between changes in legislations, between things going on in our community, that is all terrifying.
Right.
What I mean about it just now starting to make sense is people going, hey, you've been in the community. We're going to, so Damani, the event nerd, wanted to make sure that there was a woman of color that sits on the Deep Ellum Foundation Association board.
There you go.
So I get to sit next to a lot of the people that are making decisions in our community.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the event nerd also just celebrated 10 years of being there as well and being open. But you think, again, it'll be 8 years we started our build out. It'll be May, 8 years of offering classes. And now it's like, oh, hey, Blade Craft, well, you're such a staple. And it's like, am I? Oh, okay, great. Yes, I'm a staple here.
You know what that tells you too? You never know who's watching you, because they don't just come up with you're a staple on Monday and call you Tuesday. They've been watching you for a while, and what they're watching for, people, just so you know, is consistency. Because if any point in that 8 years you stop, you don't get to sit on that board. So that just tells you longevity and just keep going. Consistency is the key.
Yeah. And so to your point, I think that's, as much as you hear it, it's the authenticity of this last month I got to sit at our meeting, and one of the gentlemen said, I'm really glad you're on the board. Like, your opinion is very much your opinion, and you have insight that is very much yours, and you communicate it well. And I thank you for that. And I'm like, oh, because I felt bad last time I dropped 2 F-bombs at the meeting. And so I was feeling bad for this time. And I told him that. And he goes, it's not anything we hadn't heard before. But, I was pissed last time. So this time I was like, maybe I should bring cookies or something. They're probably going to be like, what were we thinking? But
you know what, though? You let them have it. That's fine.
But
they needed it, though.
And it wasn't I don't ever cuss at people. It was more the situation, the frustration of whatever. But they were like, thank you. That's what and they know very much I care. And the other thing too, that as much as all these different things that are, who's in charge and who owns certain buildings and all of these things, yes, we have a lot of ways that we can get better. But one of the things that's really comforting to me is that I was invited.
Yes, but that shows your work. That means you're doing something right in the community.
Well, but also the people on the board. They've invited other voices that don't look like them and don't sound like them. And so that's really comforting to me and exciting for me to think about if more boards continue to do this.
Across the board. Yes.
How awesome is that?
It changes things.
And I feel very welcome. People are like, do you feel welcome? Yeah. But I also shave men for a living. So I'm used to talking to them, interacting with them. And I always have my straight razor. So I'm good.
Either way.
I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for having
me. You made this super easy.
Thanks.
So to close out, give everyone your socials, tell them where they can find you, tell them where they can find your shop. So go ahead, I'll let you do all that, and then we'll close up.
Well, whenever you guys get the opportunity to visit Deep Ellum, stop in and tell them Miss Lilly said you could have a complimentary service on the house. Every time you come in, students get to practice and become better at their craft. We are in Deep Ellum on 2719 Main Street, right across the street from the Pecan Lodge, and most importantly, Emporium Pies, because pie. And you can find us at Blade Craft Barber, and my handle is Blade Craft Lilly, and I am there. I love coffee, so if you want to pick my brain on certain things, I'm happy to meet you for a quick coffee, and just come in and get spoiled, get pampered.
Yeah, our co-host has a beard as well. I got to bring him down there. We need your stickers somewhere. I got to do all this little free advertising for people. So got to put that on there. So if you got some of those, bring them.
For sure.
But this won't be our last conversation. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me. We'll have to
come down there and do some on location and let them watch you shave us and all that kind of stuff. So
that'd be cool.
Very, very a pleasure. Let me give you a round of applause.
Yay!
Yeah, look at that. Want some horns? There we go. Yeah, there it is. All right. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. This has been episode 24 of Blade Craft Lilly. Bye. You want to say it too? I'm the only one that ever says it. It's just me that says bye. No one will do it with me. Will you do it with me?
Absolutely.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Bye. Bye.